Hello and welcome to France 24. You're watching Eye on Africa. I'm Vedika Bahel and here's the top headlines from across the continent. Regional officials say over 400 civilians have been killed since December 1st in the area of Uvira in the Democratic Republic of Congo when Rwanda-backed M23 rebels escalated its offensive in the country's South Kivu province. Kenya has pulled the brakes on a landmark health pact with the United States over data privacy concerns. It comes as consumer rights groups argued that the deal breaches several laws and puts Kenyans' personal health data at risk. And an epic historic tale brought to life in the Ivory Coast. In a lyrical journey, the story of Sundiata Keita, the founder of the Mali Empire, meets the stage. Thank you for joining us. We'll be starting this bulletin in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where regional officials say over 400 civilians have been killed in the area of Uvira since December 1st, when Rwanda-backed M23 rebels escalated its offensive in the South Kivu province in the country's east. The armed group has entered the strategic Congolese city of Uvira, located around 30 kilometers from Burundi's largest city, Bujumbura, triggering Burundi to close its borders as thousands fled. The rebel group posted on social media that they had captured Uvira. This latest offensive comes despite a US-brokered peace agreement signed last week by the Congolese and Rwandan presidents in Washington. Now, for more on this, we welcome Patrick Muyaya to the program. He's the communications minister of the DRC government. Thank you so much, Mr. Muyaya, for joining us here at Eye on Africa. I wanted to start by asking you about the situation on the ground, particularly in Uvira. Has Uvira fallen to the M23 rebels? I think that's the question everybody wants the answer to.
This time we can say yes. If you look at the different past days, we've seen a very intense activities from Rwandan different forces. It's clear that M23 doesn't have all those materials. Started, I think, last Sunday from Bugarama in Rwandan territory. They start sending bombs in the civilian area in DRC, and they continue to use even some suicide drone during their activities, and this exposed a lot people's life, as you have spoken before about the number of those fellow Congolese who died since the beginning of these activities. And I think even today we are worried about what the different news were airing from our people in Uvira, particularly because young people are targeted, and there is a lot of them who've been killed since yesterday and today. But we keep our eyes on that, and I think today we had a cabinet meeting with the President Tshisekedi, and some of the decision was made with military. They're gonna continue to follow and to work for the situation in the ground. This is the first step. The second step is that Rwanda, by attacking Uvira and different tone of this part of DRC, they are not only targeted the Congolese territory. They did some of the bomb fallen in somewhere in Burundi. It means that Rwanda just want to destabilize all the region, and this is not what we agree in past December in the front of the President Donald Trump in Washington.
No, so that brings me on to seeing as we're talking about Donald Trump in Washington, that brings me nicely to my next question. So that, it's been a week since that peace deal was brokered by Washington. Do you consider that there's still a deal in place at this point in time?
First, in Washington, I need to say that we had two kind of activities in Washington. One part was bilateral between DRC and United States, and the second was between DRC, Rwanda, and United States as the facilitation. What we did in Washington, especially with Rwanda, the first thing we should see in the ground wasn't see those kind of offensive and those attack on civilians. What we are seeing is just what we knew even before we traveled to Washington, because the President Kagame doesn't want peace. I don't think the President Kagame is ready to see what we signed in the first step as the peace agreement with Rwanda, and what we signed at the same time, what we call in English, regional integration economic framework. The objective of the peace agreement in Washington is to see the way we can tackle the issue of insecurity, bring back peace, and then from peace, doing integration and economy. It's clear that when you see the President Kagame deciding to attack Uvira and all those towns, as we've been saying before, it's clear that for the President Kagame, this part of DRC cannot have peace, because if there is peace, if we bring stability, he won't be able to continue his process of looting our mineral resources and making sure he's stealing money with all those bad traffic and illicit traffic he put in place for the past 30 years in this part of our country.
And Mr. Muyaya, the US mediated this deal, but what do you expect them to do as the mediators? You know, are you expecting any concrete measures from Washington considering this escalation in Uvira?
Clear that since last September, the President Trump is speaking about peace in eastern part of DRC. We went in Washington, and the president had time to speak with the President Trump to say that the first condition, if you want to bring back peace in that region, is to see the withdrawal of Rwandan troops in our territory, and Rwanda has to stop bringing support to its proxy called M23, like father, like son. But what we are seeing today, it's clear that the President Kagame doesn't care about the agreement we made in the front of the President Trump. It's clear the President Trump or United States need to take strong action to make sure the deal we sign in Washington will produce the consequence in the ground. I think we are waiting to see what will be the Washington reaction about what the President Kagame did. But what we have seen in the past day, it means that international community, even United Nations, condemned strongly what the President Kagame is doing. And I think there is need now to put on the table more sanction and more decision, which can be very helpful in order to stop the President Kagame criminal activities in the eastern part of DRC.
And Mr. Muyaya, I want to talk now about your neighbor, Burundi. We know that the Burundian army has been supporting you in fighting the M23 armed rebels. Now that Burundi has closed their borders, is it a concern that they might retract their military support?
The question is, why, if Burundi decide to close its border, it's because of this presence of Rwandan different forces in the city. And we all know that the Rwandan different forces, their intention is to attack Burundi. And this is just, if the border is closed, it's very critical, because Uvira was depending a bit in Bujumbura, especially about humanitarian needs. And in the ground today, we have more than 400 people killed since Rwanda decided to launch this kind of offensive. And today we have more than 200,000 people who are displaced. And I think much of those people want to travel to go in Bujumbura because they know staying in Uvira, it's not safe for them, especially with what you've been seeing in Bukavu, in Goma, where you have the leadership of M23 and Rwanda, who keep killing and torture different people. The worry we have now is that the humanitarian situation will get worse than it is now, and there is a need to act strongly to make sure we stop this criminal activity so we can take care of our population. And I think the decision made by Burundi is a normal decision, especially when you know that those who are occupying Uvira now has just one intention: to bring war and to start attacking Burundian territory.
Well, I think we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much, Patrick Muyaya, for joining us, the Communications Minister for the Government of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Thank you so much for joining us here on Eye on Africa. Next, Kenya's High Court has suspended part of a $1.6 billion health pact with the United States until it hears a data privacy case filed by a consumer protection group. The Consumers Federation of Kenya paused moves to operationalize the deal until the government provides information on the sharing of personal health data. The health agreement, signed in Washington around a week ago, was the first of its kind under an overhaul of US foreign aid. The US State Department's deputy spokesperson spoke to us here at France 24 just after the deal was signed. Here's what she said.
This is part of our America First global health strategy. It's an opportunity for the United States to partner with countries around the world who are using or heavy users of U.S. health assistance to ensure we're no longer creating a parallel health system. This is an opportunity to move those resources, those frontline commodities, frontline workers, and move them squarely into the role and under the leadership of partner governments. It's a new modality that we're using, but our health policy still remains the same. We're still focused on detecting, on preventing, and treating infectious diseases, including TB, malaria, HIV/AIDS, polio. Kenya, we have a strong relationship with Kenya. We've been working with them for decades on health security and health policy. And so this is a symbol of what we can see, what will be the future of our health policies across not only just the continent of Africa, but across the world. And we're really excited to see what this turns into.
For more on why this deal's been put on pause, here's our correspondent in Nairobi, Bastien Renouy.
The court's decision follows a case filed by a consumer rights lobby seeking to stop the alleged transfer of data under the agreement. Many Kenyans believe that because of this agreement, the United States will be able to access their personal medical information. And according to the Consumer Federation of Kenya, the country risked ceding strategic control of its health system if pharmaceuticals for emerging diseases and digital infrastructure are externally controlled. So the court agreed to bar the implementation of the agreement until the full case is heard. In the meantime, Kenya's President William Ruto tried to reassure the population that this agreement is safe. He said that the Attorney General went through the agreement with a toothpick to make sure that the law that prevails regarding data belonging to the people of Kenya is the Kenyan law. The case is next due in court on the 12th of February.
And finally, on a lighter note, in the Ivory Coast, one of the greatest historical figures of West African history has been brought to life in the capital, Abidjan. It's the story of Sundiata Keita, the founder of the Mali Empire in the 13th century, an empire renowned for the wealth of its rulers that began as a small Mandinka kingdom. Our team on the ground has this.
Rehearsals are in full swing. Dozens of artists pay tribute to Sundiata Keita, the disabled child who became king of the Western Sudanese Empire of Mali and the first ruler in the world to ban slavery.
Il n'y a pas pire tragédie que l'esclavage dans ce monde.
I realized that beyond the legend, Sundiata Keita has established the first human rights laws in 1236, more than 500 years before 1789. Africa's history is rich. They often say Africa is the cradle of the world, but I wonder, hasn't Africa also been the brain of the world?
15 musicians and an equal number of choristers bring this Mandinka opera to life.
We combine traditional music with Western music. When we speak about Mandinka opera, we refer to traditional instruments like the balafon and the kora, but we add other instruments such as cellos, violins, and keyboard.
The story of Sundiata Keita has been passed down by generations of storytellers. Unfortunately, historians have also documented his military victories.
There are written sources, not many but enough to confirm that Sundiata Keita wasn't just a mythical or legendary figure. He succeeded in defeating Sumahoro Kante, who was exterminating the populations of the Mande. And he managed to establish an empire that experienced a remarkable civilization.
Last year, the production drew more than 1,800 spectators. This year, it returns at the French Institute in Abidjan.
Je suis Sundiata Keita!
That's all we have time for in this edition. Thank you for watching Eye on Africa, and stay tuned to France 24. There's more world news coming up next with Sharon Gaffney.
This monument lists the names of the children who died at Chigid. They died very young.
Romanian dictator Ceausescu's birth rate policy led to thousands of abandoned children. Many were diagnosed with disabilities and labeled unredeemable, then sent to state-run institutions.
For the communist regime, these children were seen as an unnecessary burden that had to be removed.
This was my bed, right here. They never changed our sheets, nor our clothes. These are awful memories.
Growing up in inhumane conditions left its mark on survivors.
You can't forget the wounds, the suffering, the trauma from childhood.
Revisiting Romania's missing children on France 24.